All right. So, an addendum to the Google Cloud Reader that I provided. So, what I want to explain is that what I did was provided 9 chapters that covered the core resources within the Google Cloud environment. What I want to do now is go over what I think would be a sufficient practice test in order to be prepared for the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam. What is this going to do? This is going to focus on DevOps and DevSecOps practices, Google Cloud Engineer practices, security frameworks, vulnerability management tools, cloud environment, and programming language that would serve several important purposes. It'll help you evaluate an organization's current security controls, policies, and procedures, identifying potential gaps that need addressing according to standards like NIST 853, FedRAMP, or HITRUST. It'll help you understand the regulatory requirements like PCI DSS, HIPAA, FERPA, an organization must meet. These will help determine what additional controls may be necessary for compliance. These questions will go into CI/CD pipelines, AMIs, Docker files, Terraform configurations, and help you assess how well your security will be integrated into infrastructure as code practices. This will also help you examine tools like Trivy, SonarQube, and CloudTrail. The assessment can then help you identify strengths and weaknesses in the vulnerability detection and remediation workflow. Ultimately, you'll get questions about how these cloud providers, specifically Google, will help evaluate your security posture and identify platform-specific security gaps. These questions about IAM, MFA, SSO, and identity federation will help you ensure proper access controls are in place to protect sensitive resources. So by understanding the tool chain, the programming languages, you'll be able to identify opportunities for security automation. And the answers will help you provide a risk profile that help prioritize security efforts based on the most critical vulnerabilities and compliance gaps. Ultimately, this will help result in processes that can be used to develop and prioritize a roadmap for improving security posture over time. And what you'll do is when you are using this across your organization or your team, the questions and answers can provide benchmark data to compare security and maturity levels. Hopefully, you'll see what's valuable for your organization, for yourself, to handle sensitive data, work in regulated industries, or if your company undergoes security audits or certifications. So let's begin. Question 1. One of the developers on your team deployed their application to Google Kubernetes Engine using a Docker file. They report their application deployments are taking too long. You want to optimize this Docker file for faster deployment times without affecting functionality. How would you do that? 2 results would be use a slimmed down base image like Alpine Linux, copy the source after the package dependencies, where Python and pip are installed. Here's why. Alpine Linux is a lightweight base image, reducing the size of the Docker image and speeding up deployments. Copying source code after installing dependencies allows Docker to cache earlier layers, improving rebuild speed significantly. Question 2. You have a solution to produce performing bugs. Your solution is producing performing bugs in production that you can see in staging and test environments. You want to adjust your testing and deployment practices to avoid this problem in the future. How do you do this? You deploy small changes to a subset of users before rolling out to production. This will be considered your canary. A canary deployment lets you expose changes to a small portion of users first, helping you catch real-world issues without risking the entire user base. Question 3. Your company needs to revise its API but maintain the old version for existing customers, keeping the same SSL certificate and DNS records. How do you do this? You should use separate backend pools for each API path behind the load balancer. Why? The separate backend pools will allow routing based on request paths and serve old and new APIs through a shared SSL and DNS configuration. Question 4. A small number of API requests to your microservices-based application take a very long time. You want to determine which service is causing the latency. How do you do this? You should instrument your application with Stackdriver Trace, currently Operation Suite. This will help you break down the request latencies at each microservice. This Operation Suite Trace will provide a detailed breakdown of request journeys across microservices, identifying where delays occur. Question 5. During a high traffic event, your relational database crashes and no automatic promotion of replicas occurs. You want to minimize downtime in the future. How do you do this? Snapshots. Snapshots of your database on a regular basis can help save your whole organization. This allows for faster recovery by restoring to a recent point in time if a crash occurs, ensuring minimal data loss and downtime. Remember, point in time and point of recovery are very important. This helps you resolve all your issues and restore back to where everything was working. Question 6. Your organization requires that all application metrics be retained for 5 years for legal purposes. How would you do this? 1. You would configure stack driver monitoring or cloud monitoring for all projects and export it to BigQuery. Exporting this to BigQuery enables long-term retention and powerful querying of metrics beyond the default retention period offered by Stackdriver/Operations Suite. Question 7. You need to set up a backup replica of a 4 terabyte Postgres database in GCP with frequent large updates requiring private network communication. How would you do this? Use Cloud Dedicated Interconnect. Dedicated Interconnect provides a private high bandwidth connection between your on-prem data center and Google Cloud, ideal for large and frequent backup database updates. Question 8. Your company anticipates a major increase in Apache Spark and Hadoop jobs in the local data center. You want to leverage the cloud with minimal code change and operational overhead. Answer: you would use Google Cloud Dataproc. Dataproc is a fully managed service for Spark and Hadoop, providing easy scaling and cloud-native integrations without heavy lifting. Question 9. Your custom C++ suite runs on Linux VMs and takes several hours on limited on-prem servers. You want to speed this up using cloud infrastructure with minimal test changes. How would you do this? Use Google Compute Engine managed instance groups with auto-scaling. Managed instance groups, the auto-scaling allows dynamic scaling of virtual machines to accelerate test executions and reduce time to feedback without modifying test results significantly. Question 10. Auditors visit yearly to review Google Cloud IAM policy changes. You want to simplify the audit process. How would you do this? You would enable Google Cloud Storage log export to audit logs into a GCS bucket and delegate access to the bucket. Exporting audit logs to a GCS bucket provides long-term storage and simplifies controlled access for auditors, streamlining compliance and review processes. Remember, the settings should be specific to the auditors. Question 11. You're designing a large distributed application with 30 microservices. Each microservice needs to connect to a database backend. You want to store the credentials securely. Store them in Secret Management System. Secret Management System ensures secure access, access control, encryption, and auditing for sensitive credentials, reducing the risk of leaks compared to embedding secrets in code, environment variables, or config files. Question 12. The Operations Manager asks for recommended practices when migrating a J2EE application to the cloud. How would you do this? Put the application code to run on Google App Engine, select an automation framework to reliably provision the cloud infrastructure, and deploy a continuous integration tool with automated testing in a staging environment. Porting the App Engine allows for cloud-native scalability. Using an automation framework ensures consistent, repeatable infrastructure, and continuous integration with automated testing speeds up development and reduces deployment risks. Question 13. You want your running Google Kubernetes engine cluster to scale based on application demand. How would you do this? Enable auto-scaling on the existing node pool using gcloud CLI. If you update the cluster with auto-scaling, this ensures dynamic scaling of nodes based on CPU or memory usage. This improves efficiency and cost control without manual intervention. Question 14. A lead engineer wants to migrate a custom virtual machine deployment tool to Google Cloud Deployment Manager. You're assessing the risks. How would you do this? 1. Cloud Deployment Manager APIs could be deprecated in the future. 2. Cloud Deployment Manager only supports automation of Google Cloud resources. So API deprecation poses maintenance risks. Also, Cloud Deployment Manager is GCP specific, limiting multi-cloud flexibility if future expansion beyond Google Cloud is needed. 15. You wrote a Python script to connect BigQuery from a compute engine VM, but it fails to connect. What's the solution? Install the latest BigQuery API client library for Python. So missing or outdated client libraries are the most common cause of connection errors. Installing the latest library ensures proper API functionality for Python scripts accessing BigQuery. Question 16. Your company has completed a lift and shift migration to Compute Engine. You have 9 months to design a cloud-native, no-ops, auto-scaling solution. What's your solution? Google Kubernetes Engine with containers and Google App Engine with standard environment. GKE, Kubernetes Engine, contains container orchestration with auto-scaling and minimal operation burden, along with App Engine is a fully managed no-ops that automatically scales based on demand without manual infrastructure management. Question 17. You have to design a solution for a cloud portable, scalable, continuous delivery capable application that supports multiple app stacks, dynamic templates. The answer, Google Kubernetes Engine, Jenkins, and Helm. GKE provides scalable container orchestration. Jenkins automates CI/CD pipelines, and Helm manages Kubernetes deployments with reusable templates, fulfilling all specified requirements. Question 18. The marketing department needs to launch a promotion website handling between 100 and 500,000 clicks through the day, or click-throughs per day. How would you do this? You use Google App Engine to serve the website and Google Cloud Data Store to store the data. App Engine provides seamless auto-scaling for unpredictable web traffic, and Cloud Data Store is a serverless NoSQL database that handles variable loads without manual management. Question 19. You want to log all application data changes and verify the authenticity of those logs. How would you do this? You digitally sign each timestamp and log entry and store the signature. Why? Because digital signatures provide tamper evidence by allowing verification that logs have not been altered, ensuring data authenticity for auditing or security purposes. Question 20. You've created preemptible Linux virtual machines and want to gracefully shut down applications before preemption. Answer, create a shutdown script and assign it using the shutdown-script metadata key during VM creation. Compute Engine supports attaching shutdown scripts via metadata. These scripts are triggered automatically during VM termination events, including preemption, allowing for clean shutdowns. Question 21. A production database VM on Google Compute Engine is about to run out of storage. It uses an ext4-formatted persistent disk. Answer. Increase the size of the persistent disk in Google Cloud's console and use the resize2fs command in Linux. Why? This method allows you to resize the disk live without shutting down the VM, minimizing downtime. The resize2fs command expands the file system to use the newly added space. Question 22. You have a 3-tier web application on GCP and need to control traffic flow between tiers. Answer, add tags to each tier and set up firewall rules to allow the desired traffic flow. Using tags and firewall rules provides fine-grained, tier-specific access control, ensuring traffic flows appropriately without unnecessary exposure. Question 23. You need a cloud solution for development VMs that supports multiple start-stop cycles daily and cost visibility for finance. Answer. Apply VM CPU utilization labels and include them in BigQuery billing export. Store state in a Google Cloud Storage. Snapshot persistent disks and terminate the VM. Why? Labels allow tracking costs by group, and BigQuery billing export enables detailed financial reporting. Storing state externally allows safe VM termination, cutting costs while preserving data. Question 24. You need a resiliency testing strategy for a web portal going public, including a 99.99% SLA. Answer. Capture existing user input, replay the load until resource utilization crosses 80%, and deploy enough resources to handle 200% of expected load. Explanation. This method uses realistic traffic data and ensures a buffer to handle spikes, maintaining SLA commitments during heavy loads. Question 25. We want to remove cloud storage backup files older than 90 days and optimize costs. Answer. Write a lifecycle management rule in JSON and push it to the bucket with gsutil. Explanation. Using a JSON-based lifecycle rule automates file deletion and reduces ongoing storage costs without needing manual cron jobs. Question 26. A Linux kernel module was added, causing failures in nightly batch runs. You need to collect failure details. Solutions would include use Stackdriver or Operation Suite logging to search for module log entries. Use gcloud or Cloud Console to connect to the serial console and observe the logs. And then adjust Stackdriver or Operation Suite timeline to match the failure time and observe server metrics. Stackdriver/Operation Suite and Serial Console access reveal time logs and system states. Adjusting time logs helps correlate events precisely with failures. Question 27. Your company wants to archive 100 terabytes of logs in the cloud, test analytics features, and retain data for disaster recovery. Answer: load logs into Google BigQuery and upload log files into Google Cloud Storage. Cloud Storage provides low-cost archiving, while BigQuery enables fast-time, scalable analytics on large log data sets. Question 28. Your autoscaling instance groups keeps terminating VMs after setting up an HTTPS load balancer. VMs lack public IPs. Answer: ensure a firewall rule exists to allow load balancer health checks to reach the instances. Why? Because health checks must reach instances to validate they are serving traffic. Without proper firewall rules, load balancers consider instances unhealthy and restart them. Question 29. You need to store data real time. You need to store real-time sensor data. 50,000 sensors sending 10 readings per second. So you're talking 500,000 readings. How would you do this? Google Cloud Bigtable. Bigtable is optimized for high throughput, low latency time series data, perfect for real-time sensor applications. Question 30. The DBA team needs better performance from a MySQL database on Compute Engine using SSD persistent disks. Answer: dynamically resize the SSD persistent disk to 500 gigabytes. Why? Because increasing disk size improves available IOPS, enhancing database performance for high read-write operations, especially for MySQL workloads. Question 31. Your application processes credit card transactions, and you want to minimize PCI compliance scope without losing the ability to analyze payment trends. Answer: create a tokenizer service and store only tokenized data. Why? Because tokenization replaces sensitive credit card information with non-sensitive tokens, reducing the scope of PCI compliance. Analyzing tokenized data keeps analytics capabilities while protecting sensitive information. Question 32. You need to select a storage solution for clickstream data that arrives at high volumes and must be available for analysis. Remember, use Google Cloud Bigtable. Bigtable is designed for massive, low latency, time series data sets like clickstreams, scaling automatically to handle unpredictable bursts in traffic. Question 33. After a recent update, your app engine is slow to load. You need a strategy to fix it without disrupting users further. Answer: roll back to an earlier known good release and use Stackdriver Trace or Operation Suite and logging to diagnose the problem in a development test staging environment. Explanation: rolling back stabilizes production, while Stackdriver and logging in a test environment allow for diagnosis without risking user experience. Question 34. Your company wants to explore analytics using both batch and stream processing methods. Answer: use Google Cloud Data Flow. Data Flow supports both batch and streaming pipelines, making the ideal service for flexible, scalable data processing without maintaining infrastructure. Question 35. Your company is moving a corporate app to Google Cloud and wants to minimize user disruption with strict password storage rules. Answer: provision users in Google using Google Cloud Directory Sync Tool. Google Cloud Directory Sync Tool, GCDS, synchronizes user accounts without requiring users to reset passwords or recreate accounts, easing the migration and maintaining security. Question 36. You need to track motion sensor status in meeting rooms every second across global offices. Answer: use a NoSQL database. NoSQL databases are optimized for high-frequency, large-scale, semi-structured data like sensor data, ensuring efficient storage and querying without complex schema management. Question 37. You want to further reduce unplanned rollbacks after improving QA processes. Answer: introduce a green-blue deployment model and fragment the monolithic platform into microservices. A green-blue deployment model allows safer production releases with limited or immediate rollback capability. Microservices enable independent updates, reducing the blast radius of faulty deployments. Question 38. The development team needs a better logging tool to capture errors and analyze log history for a cloud app. Answer: Direct them to download and install the Google Stack driver or Operations Suite logging agent. This logging agent captures logs from VMs and services automatically, providing real-time insights, advanced filtering, and integration with alerting and monitoring. Question 39. Users of a new newsfeed app on App Engine are seeing previously viewed articles during peak loads. You have to find the cause. Answer: the session variable is being overwritten in Cloud Data Store. Improper handling of session storage can cause data overwrites in Cloud Data Store, leading to stale or incorrect session data being served to users. Question 40. You must migrate a multi-petabyte data set to the cloud for analysts who are familiar with SQL. Load the data into Google BigQuery. BigQuery is a serverless, highly scalable, SQL-based data warehouse ideal for storing and querying multi-petabyte datasets with minimal operational overhead. Question 41. Your customer is migrating corporate applications to Google Cloud Platform, and the security team requires detailed visibility across all projects. Assign org and viewer project viewer roles to the security team. Why? Because the org viewer and project viewer roles provide read-only access to the organization and project level, allowing the security team to monitor resources without the ability to modify them. Question 42. Your company values rapid release cycles and agility, but you want to minimize the introduction of security flaws. Answer: use source code security analyzers as part of the CI/CD pipeline. Run a vulnerability security scanner as part of the CI/CD pipeline too. Why? Integrating security analyzers and scanners into the CI/CD process allows vulnerabilities to be identified early in development, reducing the likelihood of security issues reaching production. Question 43. You are rolling out a new load testing tool for your cloud services running on Compute Engine and Cloud Bigtable. Answer: create a separate Google Cloud project for load testing. Record transactions to replay with the load testing tool. And instrument both the load testing tool and target services with detailed logging metrics. Why? Isolating load testing in a separate project environment prevents disruptions to production. Recording actual transactions improves test realism. And detailed logging provides visibility into system behavior under load. Question 44. You need to create a copy of Linux VM from US Central and deploy it to US East in a different Google Cloud project. How would you do this? Create a snapshot of the root disk, store it in Google Cloud Storage as an image file, and use it to create a new VM instance. Creating a snapshot and exporting it to cloud storage allows you to efficiently migrate a VM across regions and projects while assuring easy management and redeployment. Question 45. You need to reconfigure or configure regular backups of a MySQL database without impacting disk's performance. Answer: use GCS Fuse to mount a Google Cloud Storage bucket and write backups directly using MySQL dump. Why? Mounting a Google Cloud Storage bucket using GCS Fuse minimizes disk I/O impact, allowing backups to occur seamlessly and securely off instance. Question 46. Your custom Java app fails to deploy to App Engine due to a missing security validation. Answer: digitally sign all jar files and redeploy your application. Answer: why? Digitally signing jar files ensures they are verified during deployment, which is necessary for secure and successful App Engine deployments. Question 47. You need to minimize data loss while capturing 3,000 server events per second in Google Cloud Storage. Answer: append metadata to each file body, compress individual files, name files with server name -timestamp, and create a new bucket every hour. Why? Appending metadata and compressing individual files ensures that event data is durable and efficient. Managing bucket by hour prevents bucket overloading and ensures organized storage. Question 48. Your backend services use WebSockets and non-distributed HTTP sessions. You want to help the engineer ensure proper deployment on Google Cloud Platform. Answer: meet with the cloud operations team and the engineer to discuss load balancer options. Why? GCP HTTPS load balancers natively support WebSockets. Coordinating with operations ensures that the load balancer is configured to maintain session persistence in WebSocket connections. Question 49. You want to enable autoscaling for your running GKE cluster to handle changing demand. Answer: add a tag to instances to enable autoscaling and set the max nodes values. Why? Tagging instances and configuring autoscaling allows your cluster to automatically resize based on resource needs without manual intervention. Question 50. Your custom Java application fails to deploy App Engine and returns a deployment stack trace. Digitally sign all jar files and redeploy your application. Unsigned jar files can often cause deployment errors on secure platforms like App Engine. Digitally signing the jar files ensures successful deployment. Question 51. You're designing a mobile chat application and need to ensure users cannot spoof messages, providing proof that a message came from a specific user. Answer. Use a trusted certificate authority to enable SSL connectivity between the client application and the server. SSL certificates issued by a trusted CA or certificate authority ensure secure, authenticated communications between clients and servers, protecting against spoofing and ensuring message authenticity. Question 52. A source code change negatively impacted your deployment's KPIs. Investigating could take a week. You need a quick remediation. Answer. Revert the source code change and rerun the deployment pipeline. Why? Reverting the faulty code through the deployment pipeline restores service reliability quickly and ensures all instances are consistent without manual intervention. Question 53. You need to control IAM policies independently by department while maintaining centralized management. Answer. Use a single organization with a folder for each department. Why? Folders allow logical grouping and separate IAM policy management per department under one centralized organization for governance and scalability. Question 54. An audit found an open SSH port and an unauthorized network. You must trace its creation. How? Answer. In the logging section of the console, specify GCE network and search for create insert entry. Why? Audit logs create insert operations, allowing you to trace the origin of unauthorized network resources. Question 54. An audit found an open SSH port and an unauthorized network. You must trace its creation. Answer. In the logging section of the console, specify GCE network and search for the create insert entry. Why? Audit logs create insert operations, allowing you to trace the origin of unauthorized network resources. Question 55. You're experiencing latency and packet loss replicating your on-premises MySQL database to Google Cloud over VPN. Answer. Configure a Google Cloud dedicated interconnect. Why? Dedicated interconnect offers high bandwidth, low latency private connection, making it ideal for stable, efficient database replication. Okay. Question 56. You must sanitize customer support logs stored in Google and Cloud Bigtable from PII and payment card information before initial storage. Answer. De-identify the data with Cloud Data Loss Prevention, DLP API. Why? DLP API automates the detection and de-identification of sensitive data, ensuring compliance and data security at scale. Question 57. You need to install a custom utility in Cloud Shell that must persist across sessions and stay in the default execution path. Answer. Store the file in /google/scripts. Why? The Google scripts directory persists across Cloud Shell sessions, keeping your utilities accessible and executable. Question 58. You require a private 20 gigabytes per second plus connection between your GCP, VPC, and on-premises infrastructure. Answer. Create a VPC and connect it to your on-prem data center using dedicated interconnect. Why? Dedicated interconnect provides the required bandwidth and private connectivity, ensuring performance and reliability at enterprise scale. Question 59. You're building business processes for a startup using GCP with unpredictable consumer demand. You must minimize costs. Answer. Utilize free tier and sustained use discounts. Provision a staff position for service cost management. Why? Free tier and sustained use discounts reduce costs automatically without commitments. A dedicated position helps monitor and optimize spending as usage evolves. Question 60. You're building a continuous deployment pipeline and want to verify code changes before full production rollout. Answer. Use Jenkins to build the staging branches and the master branch. Build and deploy changes to production for 10% of users before doing a complete rollout. Why? Deploying to a small percentage of users ensures early detection of issues, minimizing risk before full-scale deployment. Jenkins supports these staged pipelines effectively. Question 61. You have an outage in your compute engine managed instance group. All instances keep restarting after 5 seconds. You have a health check configured, but auto-scaling is disabled. Your colleague, a Linux expert, offered to help troubleshoot. You need to make sure they can access the VMs. Answer. Perform a rolling restart on the instance group. A rolling restart allows instances to reboot without immediately being removed by the health check, enabling your colleague to log in and diagnose the issue before the instances restart again. Question 62. Your company is migrating on-premises workloads to Google Cloud and would use Kubernetes engine for orchestration. Parts of the architecture must meet PCI DSS compliance. Answer. Kubernetes engine and GCP provides the tools you need to build a PCI DSS compliant environment. Why? GKE can be configured to meet PCI DSS compliance through proper security configurations and controls. And GCP provides necessary infrastructure certifications and tools to support compliance. Question 63. Your company's on-premises systems have accumulated degraded data over time. You want to detect anomalies using Google recommended tools. Answer. Upload your files into Google Storage and use Google Cloud Data Prep to explore and clean your data. Why? Cloud Data Prep provides an intuitive, scalable tool for detecting anomalies and cleaning data before analysis. Uploading to cloud storage ensures centralized, secure storage. Question 64. Google Cloud Platform resources are managed using an organizational hierarchy. When IAM policies are defined at different levels, what determines the effective policy at node? Answer. The effective policy is the union of policies set at the node and policies inherited from its ancestors. Why? IAM policies combine inherited permissions from parent nodes with any permissions defined directly at the current node, expanding access appropriately. Question 65. You're migrating an on-premises system to Google Cloud and will use Cloud VPN. You want to avoid IP conflicts. Answer. Use an IP range on Google Cloud that does not overlap with the range used on premises. Why? Non-overlapping IP ranges prevent routing conflicts between your on-prem systems and Google Cloud resources over the VPN tunnel. Question 66. You found that your App Engine application is missing required cloud data store indexes. You created a YAML configuration for the new indexes. Answer. In the GCP console, use data store admin to delete the current indexes and upload the new configuration file. Why? Data store admin tool provides a way to manage, delete, and update indexes needed for applications to function correctly without downtime. Question 67. You must design a compute engine deployment with failover to another region to meet disaster recovery requirements. Answer. Deploy the application on 2 compute engine instance groups, each in the same project but in a different region. Use HTTP load balancing to fail over to the standby group. Why? Using instance groups across 2 regions with HTTPS load balancing ensures high availability and automatic failover in the event of a regional outage. Question 68. Your App Engine application needs to securely connect to an on-premises database that cannot be exposed to the public internet. Answer. Deploy your application in App Engine flexible environment and use Cloud VPN to limit access to the on-prem database. Why? App Engine Flexible supports VPC networking and private connectivity through Cloud VPN, ensuring the database is accessible only through secure channels. Question 69. In a highly secure environment with no public access, you need to install software on a compute engine VM. Answer. Upload the required installation files to cloud storage. Configure the VM on a subnet with private Google access and use GSUtil to download the files. Why? Private Google access allows internal-only VMs to securely access cloud services like cloud storage without public IPs. Using GSUtil provides a simple way to fetch files securely. Question 70. You are migrating 75 terabytes of data to Google Cloud and want to follow best practices for cloud storage uploads. Install GSUtil on each server containing data and use resumable transfers to upload the data into cloud storage. Resumable uploads with GSUtil ensured large data transfers can recover from interruptions without starting over, making it ideal for large data sets like 75 terabytes. And I believe once you start to get to 100, then you start looking at interconnect. Question 71. You have an application deployed on Kubernetes engine using a deployment called Echo Deployment, exposed by a service called Echo Service. You need to update the application with minimal downtime. Answer. Use kubectl set image deployment dash echo dash deployment new image. Using the kubectl set image updates the container image and triggers a rolling update automatically in Kubernetes, ensuring minimal disruption to the application. Question 72. Your company uses BigQuery across several Google Cloud projects. You need all queries to be billed to a single project, and users must have read-only access to the data. Answer. Add all users to a group, granting the group the role of BigQuery user on the billing project, and BigQuery data viewer on the projects containing the data. Explanation. Granting BigQuery user on the billing project enables users to run queries billed there, while BigQuery data viewer access allows them to view but not modify the data sets. Those are those permissions. Question 73. You developed an app using Cloud ML Engine that identifies famous paintings from images. You want specific people to upload images for the next 24 hours without requiring Google accounts. Answer. Have users upload images to cloud storage using a signed URL that expires after 24 hours. Why? Signed URLs provide time-limited access to cloud storage for uploading or downloading objects without requiring user authentication. Cloud 74, or question 74. Your web application must comply with European Union's GDPR regulations. You're responsible for designing the technical architecture. Answer. Define a design for the security of your data in the web application that meets GDPR requirements. Why? Because compliance with GDPR requires defining and implementing a security architecture that protects personal data, regardless of the certifications of the cloud platform used. Question 75. You need to set up a Microsoft SQL Server on Google Cloud with no downtime if a data center outage occurs in GCP. Answer. Set up SQL Server on Compute Engine using always-on availability groups with Windows failover clustering and place nodes in different subnets. Why? Always-on availability groups with failover clustering provides high availability by automatically failing over databases across zones without downtime. Question 76. You're given a Kubernetes deployment file and need to deploy the application, but you have no infrastructure yet. Answer. Use gcloud to create a Kubernetes cluster and use kubectl to create the deployment. Why? You create the cluster first with gcloud, then manage deployments using kubectl, the standard Kubernetes client tool. Question 77. You need to evaluate your team's readiness for a new GCP project and align with the business goal of cost optimization. Answer. Allocate budget for team training and create a roadmap for your team to achieve Google Cloud certification based on job role. Why? Building internal expertise through certification ensures long-term cost efficiency and empowers the team to manage and optimize cloud resources themselves. Question 78. You're designing an application for business hours only and want a compute option that automatically scales to 0 when idle. Answer. Choose Google Cloud Functions. Cloud Functions is a serverless option that automatically scales to 0 when not in use. It'll eliminate idle costs and make it ideal for business hour only applications. Question 79. Your App Engine app uses Cloud Data Store, and you need to retrieve multiple root entities efficiently by their identifiers. Answer. Create the key object for each entity and run a batch get operation. Why? Batch get operations minimize the number of requests made to Cloud Data Store, improving performance and reducing costs compared to multiple single sets. Question 80. You must upload files from your on-prem systems to cloud storage with customer-supplied encryption keys. Answer. Use GSUtil to create a bucket with the encryption key flag and then upload the files using the same flag. Explanation. Providing encryption key both during bucket creation and file upload ensures that the cloud storage uses your customer-supplied keys for encryption. Question 81. Your customer wants to capture multiple gigabytes of aggregate real-time KPIs from their game servers on Google Cloud Platform with low latency monitoring. Answer, store time series data from game servers in Google Bigtable and use it and view it using Google Data Studio. Why? Bigtable is optimized for high throughput time series data and provides low latency reads. Coupled with Data Studio, it allows real-time visualization of KPIs at scale. Question 82. You have a Python web application with many dependencies that needs 0.1 CPU and 128 megabytes of memory. You want to monitor machine utilization and reliably deploy updates. Answer, create a managed instance group with N1 standard 1 machines. Build a compute engine image from the production branch with dependencies and auto start the Python app. Why? Building a custom compute engine image requires consistency, quick startup, and easier scaling and updating of your production environment. Question 83. Your company wants to use Google Cloud while retaining its on-premises Active Directory domain controller for identity management. Answer. Use Cloud Identity Aware Proxy to use the on-premises Active Directory domain controller as an identity provider. Why? Cloud Identity Aware Proxy, IAP, allows secure authentication to Google Cloud resources using your existing on-premises Active Directory without migrating users. Question 84. Your Kubernetes engine web app has pods that restart every 2 seconds. Logs are written to standard output. You need to find the cause. Answer. Connect to the cluster using gcloud credentials and access a container in one of the pods to read the logs. Why? Connecting directly to the pods gives immediate access to crash logs, even before they are fully aggregated by Stackdriver. This helps diagnose fast-failing containers. Question 85. You want to add high availability to your Cloud SQL database, which is currently running in a single zone. Answer. Create a failover replica instance in the same region, but in a different zone. Why? Setting up a failover replica in a different zone within the same region ensures database availability, even if one zone goes down. Question 86. Your stateless compute engine application slows down during peak business hours. You want to auto-scale based on demand. Answer. Create a custom image and instance template and auto-scale using the template. Why? A custom image ensures quick instant creation during scaling events, and using it in an auto-scaled managed instance group allows your system to adapt to demand. Question 87. Your web app VMs need restricted communication between them without relying on static IPs or subnets because they auto-scale. Answer. Use firewall rules based on network tags attached to the compute instances. Explanation. Network tags allow you to apply dynamic firewall rules to VMs based on their tags rather than IP addresses, which is ideal for auto-scaling environments. Question 88. Your Cloud SQL database for CRM needs to scale with usage and stay within 75% CPU utilization and less than 60 seconds replication lag. Answer. Enable automatic storage increases for the instance, create an alert for CPU usage, and shard the database to reduce replication lag. Why? Enabling automatic storage and CPU alerts ensures you can proactively scale. Sharding helps distribute load and minimize replication lag. Question 89. You need a database solution for OLAP marketing analytics capable of handling hundreds of terabytes. Use BigQuery because it's designed for large-scale processing of tabular data. BigQuery is a serverless data warehouse optimized for very large datasets and analytical process, making it the ideal choice for OLAP workloads. Question 90. Your Kubernetes engine uses a Cloud SQL proxy and is experiencing database connection issues. A post-mortem investigation is required. Answer. Validate that the secure service account used by the Cloud SQL proxy container still has the correct permissions. If the service account loses its required roles, like Cloud SQL client, the proxy will fail to connect to the database. Checking IAM permissions ensures correct configuration. Question 91. Your company pushes batches of sensitive transaction data from application server VMs to Cloud Pub Sub. You need a secure authentication method. Answer. Ensure that the VM service accounts are granted the appropriate Cloud Pub Sub IAM roles. Why? Using service accounts with the necessary IAM roles is Google's recommended method for authenticating GCP services securely and at scale. It avoids the complexity and risks of managing tokens manually. Question 92. You want to deploy a compute engine application across two regions and ensure it communicates securely with your on-prem network. Answer. Create a global cloud VPN gateway with VPN tunnels from each region to the on-prem peer gateway. Why? A Google Cloud VPN gateway provides a unified, highly available VPN solution that connects multiple regions to your on-prem network, ensuring resilience and streamlined management. Question 93. You are writing logs of BigQuery and want logs older than 45 days to be automatically deleted. Answer. Configure the expiration time for your tables at 45 days. Setting the table expiration ensures that data older than the specified duration is automatically deleted, reducing storage costs without manual intervention. Question 94. You want a Kubernetes engine cluster to automatically add or remove nodes based on CPU nodes. Answer. Configure a horizontal pod autoscaler with a target CPU usage. Enable the cluster autoscaler from the GCP console. The horizontal pod autoscaler adjusts the number of pods based on resource usage, while the cluster autoscaler adjusts the number of nodes based on pod demands, working together for optimal scaling. Question 95. You're verifying disaster recovery resilience for an on-premises production environment using GCP. Answer. Verify that the transfer appliance can replicate files to GCP. Verify that direct peering can establish a secure connection if the transfer appliance fails. Transfer appliance ensures efficient bulk data transfer initially. Direct peering provides a fast, private backup connection if needed during operational failures. Question 96. You need to design a cost-effective and HIPAA-compliant architecture for multiple batch workloads on GCP. Answer. Provision preemptible VMs to reduce costs. Disable and discontinue use of all GCP services and APIs that are not HIPAA compliant. Preemptible VMs lower costs significantly for batch jobs, and compliance requires avoiding non-HIPAA compliant services to maintain regulatory standards. Question 97. You need to run resilience testing on your authentication layer built on a regional managed instance group in Cloud SQL. Answer. Deploy intrusion detection software to your virtual machines to detect and log unauthorized access. Intrusion detection helps monitor and log suspicious behavior during resilience tests, improving security and validating system robustness. Question 98. You want to audit how many queries each user has run in your BigQuery project over the last month. Answer. In the BigQuery interface, execute a query on the jobs table to get the required information. The jobs metadata table in BigQuery records all queries run, making it the ideal source for audit reporting on user activity. Question 99. You need to automate the creation of a managed instance groups while minimizing VM startup time. Answer. Create a custom VM image with all OS package dependencies. Use Deployment Manager to create the managed instance group with the VM image. Custom VM images pre-baked with dependencies allow for faster startup times, and Deployment Manager enables automated consistent instance group creation. Question 100. You want analysts to query only their country-specific data in BigQuery, ensuring secure dataset level access. Answer. Create a group per country, add analysts to their respective groups, and assign the BigQuery data viewer role on the dataset level. Assigning access at the dataset level using the data viewer role allows analysts to query but not modify data, maintaining clear access control per country. Question 101. You need to migrate an on-premises SAN storage solution to GCP cost-effectively, supporting log archives, VM volumes, image thumbnails, and session data. Answer. Use Memcache backed by persistent disk storage for customer session data, state data, local SSD-backed instances for VM boot/data volumes, and cloud storage for log archives and thumbnails. Persistent disk SSD offers high IOPS for session state data. Local SSD provides high-performance storage for VM data, and cloud storage provides cost-effective, scalable storage for less latency-sensitive data like logs and thumbnails. Question 102. Your Kubernetes workload requires consistent pod hostnames even after scaling events. Answer. Use stateful sets. Stateful sets ensure stable, unique network identifiers for each pod, which is critical for applications needing consistent hostnames or storage. Question 103. You want to improve the cache hit ratio for Cloud CDN delivering static content from Compute Engine. Answer. Customize the cache keys to omit the protocol from from the key. Removing protocol distinctions like HTTP or HTTPS and cache keys helps consolidate cached entries and improve hit ratios. Question 104. You need to centralize admin activity logs and VM system logs in GCP. Answer. Stackdriver automatically collects admin activity logs from most services, and the Stackdriver logging agent must be installed on each VM to collect system logs. Stackdriver, aka the operation suite, natively captures service logs, but VM level logging requires installing the agent on each instance. 105. You need to test a new App Engine version with production traffic before a full rollout. Answer. Deploy the update as a new version and split traffic between the new and current versions. App Engine's traffic splitting allows controlled testing with real users without a full cutover, minimizing risk. Question 106. You must configure firewall rules to allow only Active Directory traffic from your compute engine instances. Answer. Create an egress rule with priority 100 to deny all traffic for all instances, and another egress rule with priority 1000 to allow Active Directory traffic. Why? Firewall rules are evaluated by priority. The lower the number equals the higher priority. So deny rules must have higher priority than allow rules unless overridden. Question 0107. Your customer wants to improve their product recommendation model over time. Answer. Save a history of recommendations and results of the recommendations in BigQuery to use as training data. Capturing historical data interactions allows retraining the model with real-world data, continuously improving its performance. Question 108. You need to deploy a Dockerized HTTPS web app to GKE with autoscaling. Answer. Use the horizontal pod autoscaler, enable cluster autoscaling, and use a service type of load balancer for the HTTPS traffic. This combination ensures pods and nodes scale with demand and external HTTPS traffic is balanced correctly. Question 109. You're designing a global load balancing based on URL path routing with full encryption. Answer. Create an HTTPS load balancer with URL maps. An HTTPS load balancer ensures encrypted communication with URL maps, allow routing based on URL paths for flexible traffic management. Question 110. Your application encounters occasional 5xx and 429 errors when making requests to cloud storage. Answer. Implement retry logic using a truncated exponential backoff strategy. Exponential backoff with retries is a recommended method to handle transient errors and API throttling in cloud storage. Question 111. You need to develop procedures to test a disaster recovery plan for a mission-critical application using Google best practices. Use Deployment Manager to automate service provisioning, activity logs to monitor and debug the tests. Deployment Manager automates the provisioning of services to ensure consistency, and activity logs provide detailed records of events to track and debug disaster recovery tests. 112. Question 112. You need to distribute rendering software downloads to a global customer base with a minimum latency. Answer. Save the files in a multi-regional cloud storage bucket. Multi-regional cloud storage automatically replicates data across multiple locations, ensuring low latency access and high availability globally. Question 113. You must securely retain healthcare customer data for up to 4 years, then delete it when allowed. Answer. Store the data using cloud storage and use site lifecycle management to delete files when they expire. Cloud storage lifecycle management allows you to set automatic rules to delete files after a specified time, helping enforce compliance while minimizing manual work. Question 114. You're deploying a PHP App Engine standard application with a SQL backend and need to minimize database queries. Answer. Set the memcache service level to dedicated and create a key from the hash of the query to retrieve results from memcache before querying Cloud SQL. Using a dedicated memcache service improves caching performance. Query results are cached based on the query hash, reducing database load and speeding up responses. Question 115. You need to reliably schedule compute tasks on GCP following best practices. Answer. Use the cron service provided by App Engine to publish messages to a Cloud PubSub topic. and subscribe using a message processing utility on compute engine instances. Using App Engine cron with Cloud PubSub decouples task scheduling from task execution, improving reliability and scalability. Question 116. You must transfer 900 terabytes of archive data to GCP and upload 10 terabytes of data daily, but only have 100 megabytes internet connection. Answer. Lease a transfer appliance for the archive data and use a dedicated interconnect or direct peering connection for daily uploads. Transfer appliance is ideal for large one-time data migrations. Dedicated interconnect or direct peering offers a high bandwidth, low latency connection for daily uploads. Question 117. You need guaranteed once, FIFO, first in, first out, event delivery for a globally scaled front-end streaming to a legacy backend. Answer. Use Cloud PubSub combined with Cloud SQL. Cloud PubSub delivers messages reliably, and Cloud SQL ensures strict transactional consistency, enabling ordered, first in, first out delivery critical for your backend processing. Case study number 1. Mount Game Study. This place makes games online, session-based, multiplayer games for the most popular mobile platforms. They build games, all of their games, with some server-side integration, and historically have used cloud providers to lease physical servers. A few of their games are more popular than expected, and they have problems scaling their application servers, MySQL databases, and analytics tools. Their current model is to write game statistics to files and send them through an ETL tool that loads them to a centralized MySQL database for reporting. They are building a new game, which they expect to be very popular. They plan to deploy the game's backend on Google Compute Engine so they can capture streaming metrics, run intensive analytics, and take advantage of its auto-scaling server environment, and integrate with a managed NoSQL database. Requirements for the backend platform include dynamically scale up or down based on game activity, connect to a managed NoSQL database, run customized Linux distro. Requirements for the game analytics platform include dynamically scale up or down based on game activity, process incoming data on the fly directly from game service, process data that arrives late because of slow mobile networks, allow SQL queries to access at least 10 terabytes of historical data, process files that are regularly uploaded by users' mobile devices, use only fully managed services. So, the CEO statement. Our last successful game did not scale well with our previous cloud provider, resulting in lower adoption, affecting game reputation. Our investors want more KPIs, key performance indicators, to evaluate the speed and stability of the game, as well as other metrics that provide deeper insight into usage patterns so we can adapt the games to target users. The CTO statement about our current technology cannot provide the scale we need. So we want to replace MySQL and move to an environment that provides auto-scaling, low latency, load balancing, and frees up from managing physical servers. CFO statement. CFO statement. We're not capturing enough user demographic data usage and other KPIs. As a result, we do not engage the right users. We're not confident that our marketing is targeting the right users, and we're not selling enough premium blast ups inside the game, which dramatically impacts our revenue. Question 118. They want to redesign their testing strategy for the new game backend. How should their testing coverage differ from previous systems? Answer. Tests should scale well beyond prior approaches. Given the past issues with scalability, testing should emphasize performance and load testing that's dynamic to match the production-like environment. This is crucial to validate the auto-scaling behavior of the cloud deployment. Question 19. They need a cost-effective way to thoroughly test new versions of their backend before public release. Answer. Create a scalable environment in GCP for simulating production load. Simulating a production load in a scalable GCP test environment allows for realistic testing under expected and peak user conditions. This ensures cost efficiency by using ephemeral resources only during testing. Question 120. They want to implement continuous delivery, quick updates, and rollbacks. This would mean, yeah, stop.